Good morning. Welcome back to the Broadcast Retirement Network. This is BRN AM for Wednesday, November 29th, 2023. At our top story today, preparing financially to buy a car this holiday season. Joining me now to discuss this and a lot more, Ray McGrath is an automobile enthusiast. Ray, great to see you again. Thanks so much for joining us on the program this morning.
Oh, glad to be back with you again, Jeff.
It looks like you just came in from the automobile shop that you have in your house.
You know what? I do most of my video work in the cellar where it's not the warmest, and this is I find it very comfortable on these late fall days.
Yeah, well, we're going to call you Ray the Mountain Man McGrath. Ray, it's Lumberjack Ray. In all seriousness, Ray, it's always great to see you. We're coming up on the holiday season. A lot of people going out shopping. Black Friday was just last week. A car may be on people's agenda in terms of a big ticket item. But Ray, there's a lot that goes into planning if you're going to buy a new vehicle this holiday season.
Most definitely. I mean, Jeff, the market has changed from last year where more so the dealers were in command last year. This year, the consumers, it's a little bit more in their favor. Inventory is up. Supply chain has sort of rectified itself to some degree. So we're not seeing the market adjustments that we saw last year. But at the same time, I think, it's always good to be prepared before you go into any negotiations with the dealer, because if they can sense any upper hand, they'll take advantage of it, because really they're in it to kind of maximize their potential or their profit. And for the consumer, it's good to do your homework in advance, and know what you're looking for and what it should cost and, what it costs to insure it. There's a host of issues.
Yeah, we're going to get into it in a second, but just real quick, do you remember the Cosby Show when Dr. Huxtable went in to buy a car and he purposely went and dressed down? He was wearing jeans. He didn't look like a doctor. And then at the end of the segment, someone knocks on the door. It's one of his patients, and he said, "Dr. Huxtable," and it totally blew his negotiation. Anyway, Ray, let's talk about the planning part, because that, as you said, that's really important. So you probably want to figure out what brand of car you want and what model, but you also want to figure out where this all aligns in your budget, Ray.
Exactly. Because, I think the worst thing you can go in and say something to the effect, I'm looking to spend $300 a month. So then the dealer's they can structure a loan that'll go out 8 years, 9 years. And sure, there'll be $300 a month, but you might be upside down, meaning you owe more on the car than it's worth in a year. So I think it's good to know, how much you can afford, and then how much the car should cost, or the MSRP, and then kind of work backwards from there. Not going in saying, I want a $400 a month car or a $300 a month car, because they can make that fit their parameters. But you want something that'll fit your parameters and, what won't break your budget, so to speak.
Yeah, and Ray, I mean, we look at credit card debt through the roof. Interest rates, double digits for some of these credit cards. You want to be very careful when taking on additional debt, and interest rates are probably going to be higher if you take a loan, a financial loan, an automobile loan. Ray, a lot of dealers are offering incentives, and I mean, you turn on the TV, if you still watch land-based, cable TV. I don't, but some people do. You see a lot of ads for dealers offering this incentive or that incentive. How important is that? And is that really, to your point, that they're really just trying, it's all about volume for a car dealership. It's trying to get the car out the door. New models are coming in December, January, February, into the next year. They want to move their existing inventory.
Yeah, all true points, Jeff. And I think of it as, you're also buying a car that's a 2023 model year. If the new model year is coming out or may already be out, that car's worth even less because it's a 2023 now. So you got to think, from your point of view, I mean, you're buying a car that may be 9 months old, and the new model could have a host of new features, look a little different. So, I mean, there's definitely a trade-off, but there's a cost to that. Even when you want to sell the car in 4 or 5 or whenever years, I mean, what would you rather have, a 2010 or a 2011 car? Probably people would say, well, those are all pretty old cars, so maybe it's, yeah. But what I'm saying.
It depends if it was in 2010 or 2011.
Right.
I guess I can kind of see, for me, if the car didn't change much, meaning, right, maybe they did they always do like a little aesthetic things, make the grill different. But if the car didn't change much, I might be willing to buy or lease a current year versus a newer year. So that doesn't bother me.
The car has a higher MSRP, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, to me, at the end of the day, a car's a depreciable asset, Ray. It's the minute you drive that thing off the lot, it's worth less than when you bought it. So you don't want to, I guess, unless you're buying a super sports car like you drive, like an Aston Martin or a Ferrari, those cars may appreciate, Ray, but generally cars don't.
Right. No, you know what? And the other thing is, I mean, the dealership model, I mean, Tesla's, so, for example, is testing the dealership model by really not having traditional car dealers. Hyundai's now announced they're looking to possibly list on Amazon. So, I mean, the environment's changing. I mean, really, dealers are should be there to service your car, not to try and sell you undercoating and pinstriping and additional warranties. I mean, a lot, or their version of financing. That's another point. I know we could talk about financing a little bit later, but I mean, there's a lot going on there. So I think it's best to keep your cards to yourself. Yeah. You know what you can afford, and let the deal kind of work itself out. And don't even talk about trade-ins and things like that. So all good things to keep in mind.
Yeah, there's no ERISA for car dealers. Ray, last question before we go to a commercial break. The one thing we didn't talk about yet, car insurance. Those prices are soaring. If you're going to buy a new car, Hyundai, Kia, they seem to be, they're great brands, but they seem to be maybe a little bit higher on the theft list. A lot of thieves have been going after those cars recently. That plus repair costs really going through the roof when it comes to car insurance. You want to explore that.
Right. Listen, insurance companies, they're not idiots. I mean, they know what it costs to fix a car, how long, maybe if a Hyundai, if it has to stay in the shop for 3 months while parts come from Korea, I mean, they're paying them for your rental car and all this other stuff while you're waiting to get your car fixed. So they factor all that in. An electric car, you damage the battery, that could be $12,000. So electric cars typically have higher insurance rates as well. So there's just a host of issues. And I know it's easy to say, oh, do your homework, but you really should do your homework as best you can,
Yeah. Ray, as I said, I need to take a very quick break. When we come back, we'll talk more about buying that car during the holiday season. You're going to want to stay tuned right here on BRN AM. Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms, especially for the smaller businesses? I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. Featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans. And we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network. Welcome back. We're joined this morning by Ray McGrath, an automobile enthusiast. Ray, thanks so much for staying with us this morning. Really appreciate you hanging around for segment number 2.
Yeah, I had telemarketers at the door, but I decided to stay.
Well, I appreciate that. Well, if they were telemarketers, wouldn't they be calling you rather than?
No, they were trying to sell me something. I think.
Do people still sell stuff door to door? I mean, I think they still canvass for votes during the elections. But
I get college students selling knives and people to talk to me about religion. So that's about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
No cars yet. Ray, let's talk about how important the warranty is. You talked about knowing about upkeep, the hit to your budget, but what about the maintenance on a vehicle?
Maintenance can be expensive, and I know it. I personally don't feel you should ignore it. So, but then the dealership, I mean, I guess you have to go in knowing how long do you see yourself in this car or keeping the car? Do you want to buy a 5-year policy? Because maybe the car only comes with 3-year, 36,000 miles. I mean, when it's new is the best time to extend the warranty, but at the same time, we the manufacturer's warranty is always the best because you can go to any dealer and the dealer know the manufacturer will get paid. But if you're getting your insurance from BRN Insurance, who knows if they'll be in business a year from now?
Yeah, you're right. We're not an insurance company, but I hope BRN will be in business, but not as an insurance company. Ray, let's talk about that important decision, buy versus lease. A lot of Americans are leasing now. There's a big secondary market. We've talked about that with you. How do you make that decision, especially considering the double digit or the interest rate rise that we're seeing? Where the automobile loans through the roof. The Fed raised rates over the last couple of years. It's really had an impact on personal and automobile loans.
Yeah, I mean, obviously leasing can be the least stressful because at the end of 3 years you kind of move into a newer vehicle, and that's always kind of has a good feeling. But it's sometimes you could say, well, I'm going to have a lease payment forever, so I know folks that like to buy and then hold on to the car. Ideally, they always say it's good to buy and then drive the car into the ground. I don't know what the ground looks like. Is it 10 years down the road? But there's definitely upfront costs. And I'm in New Jersey, if you can't tell by my accent, but when you lease a car in New Jersey, you have to pay the entire sales tax of a new vehicle into your lease payment. So the state's getting paid, and then when you sell the car in New Jersey, the next person pays the sales tax again. That's another story. But obviously, leasing has its benefits. Usually, you lease for the period, and you're covered by warranty. So I think it makes it, if you can afford it, it's a great way, a stress-free way to own a car, but it typically comes at a cost. Owning, you're right, Jeff. I mean, there's a big down payment. I mean, look, if a car's $50,000, it's not too long ago, $50,000 was a mortgage, so these are big numbers now to have to kind of factor into your lifestyle for 7 years is the average now, right? I think for
Yeah,
new car loans. So,
and Ray, just to your point, $40,000 or $50,000, that's a baseline car now. I mean, you think about inflation, and again, when I first started driving in 1988, the price of gas was like 80 cents. Again, when you factor in inflation, it's probably around where it is today. But the price of a car, the average car, the median car, is around $38,000, $40,000. That's a lot of money. That's probably your second biggest expense outside of your rent or your mortgage.
right. And because you don't own the car completely, you have to have, which is probably good to have, but you have to have full coverage insurance, which is even more expensive than just say bare bones insurance, so there's an additional or higher insurance cost as well. So I think, you have to add up all the parts and say, hey, can I afford, $800 a month for 5 years, and, hopefully you see your human capital or your career, being able to sustain that. But, there are trade-offs. But at the same time, people sometimes need reliable transportation. The dealer says, if you have no money, just sign here and it's all yours. But it's really not that easy because I don't want to equate it to marriage, but you have to live with the deal you make, so.
You do. You do. I mean, you got to live with the deal you make. Ray, last question. Let's talk a little bit about the credit score. Your credit score, not your Ray's credit score, but the credit score in general has an impact on the type of interest rate you're going to get. So if you have very good credit, right, you're going to have a better interest rate than someone who has moderate or middle level credit.
And that's why I always think it's best to try and get it before you even go to the dealership. See if you can get a loan from your bank or credit union on your own and what the rate would be there and how much they will be willing to lend. Because unfortunately, or fortunately for dealers, I mean, they can get you a loan, but it's usually to their advantage and at a higher rate. So, and don't let the dealer know right off the bat, hey, I want to borrow or do this, or borrow, use your financing. If you can get your private financing, and at least you know what you qualify there, it makes things easier.
Yeah, and
you're more educated.
And to our joke, a little quip before the commercial break, there is no ERISA, which is the legislation or the regulation that governs and retirement plans, right? I mean, it goes back to Studebaker. We've talked about it on this network numerous times. You've got to be the advocate for yourself as a consumer. So how do you become a better advocate, Ray? It's being armed with all the information you're talking about, keeping things close to the vets. Look, these people aren't your friends, but they're going to try to emotionalize and be friendly to you because that's how you make a sale. They're salespersons.
Right? No, I mean, it's a business. Think down and simple, And ERISA is 1974, Gerald Ford, not Studebaker. But
No, Studebaker was the pension plan that went under that kind of precipitated the passage of ERISA in 1974. Anyway, Ray, I think we're going to leave it there. Next week, next time you come on, we're going to talk about your axe wood cutting skills. Does that work for you?
Yeah, the sharper the blade, the easier it is to split the wood, as long as it's been seasoned.
Ray McGrath, always a pleasure talking with you. Thanks so much for joining us, and we look forward to having you back on the program again very soon.
Thank you, Jeff. Have a great day and enjoy the holidays.
And that wraps up this episode of BRN AM. Have a topic of interest, someone you think we should talk to? Drop us a line, and don't forget, for all the latest curated news and lifestyle, wellness, finance, tech, so much more in all in one place, check out today's edition of our daily newsletter, The Morning Post. Want to search our archives, check out our latest content? Then visit our website. We're back again tomorrow with another great edition of BRN AM. We'll have a very special guest. Until then, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe. Keep on saving. Don't forget, roll with the changes. Now is your opportunity to co-create content around any topic on the First Lifestyle and Wellness Network. Reach a global audience through our platform and co-own exclusive branded content. All of our programs are available on demand and also as audio-only podcasts, so you can take us on the go. Broadcast Retirement Network, available anytime, anywhere, and on any device.